So one of the things I hear in the spiritual community is this idea of instant gratification when it comes to enlightenment. That you just put forth a little bit of work or sign up for the right program and all your karma will be dissolved, you'll be perfectly healed, and you'll reach enlightenment in a weekend workshop. Sounds a little bit too good to be true, right? I'm not here to say that you won't find your own miracle during a course of miracles or during a weekend retreat of silent meditation, but the chances are actually pretty good that it's gonna take a lot of work over weeks, years, and possibly even lifetimes to reach a state of unification with the world around you, deep surrender, and possibly, yes, even enlightenment. If we haven't met before, I'm Kay. I'm an ecstatic life coach. And please take a moment and hit that subscribe button down below along with the bell next to it to be notified about upcoming videos. While beautiful spiritual teachers in their own right, I do think that people like Eckhart Tolle or Michael Allen Singer have done a bit of a disservice to the spiritual community by saying, oh, I just woke up one day and suddenly I was in this state of spiritual ecstasy and surrender and possibly nirvana. I didn't have to do anything for it. It just happened. And I don't know why, and it can happen for you too. Well, isn't that interesting? Perhaps it will. Perhaps one day you will just wake up and suddenly you are communing with the deers outside and the cab drivers outside and the spirits within and without, and you see dragons flying through the sky. Maybe that will happen, but probably not. Probably you're gonna have to drag your ass to your meditation cushion every day. Probably you're gonna have to spend weeks and months and years in prayer and making offerings and doing soul searching and dealing with those hard feelings that you don't want to face and having those uncomfortable conversations with loved ones because it makes you dig deeper inside. Most of us have to do a lot of spiritual work. And you know what? That's actually a beautiful thing. Not only because you'll feel like you earned it and it's more meaningful to you, but also because it fulfills one of the principles of the universe. Now, hear me out. From the universal perspective, there is absolutely nothing wrong for staying in a state of unenlightenment, a state of identification with the body and the flesh, a state of illusion, some even call it. Because from the universal perspective, God, Gaia, the universe, whatever you want to call her, manifested as individual life forms to have experience, to experience joy, to live vibrant lives, eventually rediscover their inherently spiritual nature, and then reconnect with that divine source. But the key thought here is that this is an adventure. It is a vacation of sorts, even if it's not a particularly comfortable one. And we're here to learn and grow and try things and make discoveries and figure out who we are. So why do we need to rush it? Why do we need to cut this self-discovery voyage short by going, oh, I'm gonna step outside my door, I'm gonna have this adventure. Oh wait, I'm enlightened, I don't need to go. That kind of defeats the purpose of the universe manifesting for the sheer joy of it, don't you think? There is no rush on our spiritual evolution path. It is totally fine to be where we are. And where we are is gonna have beautiful lessons, and it's gonna have fun, it's gonna have juicy bits, it's gonna have scary bits, it's gonna have delightful bits and ecstasy-filled bits. So what's wrong with being where we are? Now you might say, okay, I'm unhappy, I'm disconnected, I'm confused, I'm angry all the time, I'm miserable, I'm frustrated, I'm constipated, I'm not connected, I'm not having the sex I want, I'm not having the relationships I want, I'm not living a vibrant, ecstatic life. Cool. Then it means that you're ripe for a spiritual awakening. Because this is how it generally goes. Follow me on this metaphor for a minute. Pretend you're getting dressed up for a night out. You're getting all your hair done, you're getting your nails done, you're putting on that sparkly pink dress you love, your eyelashes are flapping, and it is a night full of promise. You go out, you hit the streets, you hit the club, you are feeling good, and as the night is wearing on, you're starting to still feel fun and feel good, but that you maybe had a few too many drinks and your back is starting to hurt and you're starting to think about work the next morning. And by like 4 a.m. you're like, oh, this isn't as fun as I thought it was. And by 6 a.m. you're back in bed and your body's all seasoned up because you should not have been moving like that on the dance floor. And you're like, fuck, this isn't fun. Why did I do this? So too is it with our spiritual voyage. As new souls, we start off, we're like, woo, all these experiences are fun, I'm having a great time, I'm trying all these things. And then a few lifetimes go by and you're like, oh, it's starting to hurt. I've accumulated some not so comfortable karma. It's not starting to feel so good. And then a few lifetimes after that and you're like, oh, this sucks. I am in pain a lot of the time. I'm uncomfortable a lot of the time. I have been living my lives unconsciously. I've been accumulating karma, accumulating experiences, including selfish decisions and angry decisions and poor actions. And I'm starting to feel it in my soul. And girl, I'm starting to feel like shit. I need to get something to make me feel better. And then, once we start to hurt enough, we start to look for answers. And when we look for answers, that might take us to a church or synagogue. It might take us to a therapist or a self-help group. But eventually, if you ask those questions long enough, it's gonna take you home to yourself. I had a spiritual experience recently where I was asking, where is God? I wanna have an experience of God. And the answer I heard was, you know where God is. Where does God most strongly exist? And I said, it's in my heart. She's in my heart. He's in my heart. They're in my heart. Whatever. Inside. And when I went there, explosion. That which you have been seeking has always been within. That truth, that bliss, that joy, that connection to God. It's in here. And if you keep asking the questions long enough, she will reveal herself to you. But we often have to go on quite the tremendous journey before we're able to really realize that. And we're gonna have to do a lot of soul work, a lot of excavation, a lot of internal healing before we're ready a lot of the time. And no one is going to be able to just give that to you. No one is going to be able to say, snap, all your karma's gone, right? Like, no more work need to be done. You got it all figured out. No teacher, no healer, no sage, no shaman, no anyone can take you away from yourself. Because that's frankly what you're asking it to do, right? Like, get me out of my experience of selfhood, but then give me an experience of the greater self. It doesn't work that way. To get to you with a capital Y, you have to go through you with a little lowercase y. It means you have to deal with all your shit. So is it possible to get enlightened today? Actually, yeah. You never know. Could be. If you can imagine it, well, perhaps it will happen today. But most likely you're gonna have to do some soul work. And that's beautiful. It's fun. Getting to grow, getting to work on yourself is a tremendous privilege. Every step on my journey where I felt myself evolve and take a step forward, I've always said, thank you. Thank you. Because I think we all know those people in our lives who are basically not any different than they were at the age 17. They just sailed into adulthood and kept on cruising without any major reflection or personal growth. And frankly, that's fucking sad. I think we are here for humans, for joy and experience, but we're also here to connect with ourselves. And through that connection, the wider world. So no, I don't think you need to rush enlightenment, and no, I don't think you need to try and make it happen today. But we should stay open to it. We should stay open to the possibility that I will experience a state greater than myself at any possible moment. I remember the first time I had what I would qualify as being a genuine enlightenment moment. And I wasn't sitting in a temple, I wasn't sitting in a workshop or a retreat. I was sitting on a riverboat cruise somewhere in Germany, having just had some snacks and a cocktail upstairs in the lounge, and then came back to our cabin to meditate. And suddenly I experienced one of the goals of yoga, samadhi, this state of unification, this state of being surrounded and made of light and bliss and joy and connected with my truth. And yeah, it only lasted for a few minutes, but I knew in that little bit of time that this was different than any other sort of psychic or meditative experience I've ever had. I knew once it happened, I was like, no, that was an experience of enlightenment. And here's the kicker. There is no perfect enlightenment, right? There's many, many layers of it. So even if you feel like you get it for a few minutes, great. Try to stabilize there, try to live in that space. And if you finally live in that space, great. Keep going, climb to a higher and higher and higher level. Because here's the thing about fully admitting to yourself that we're all on a soul's journey. It means because we're all journeying and there is no final destination point, it doesn't make us better or worse because we're further ahead or further behind or at the beginning or towards the end. We're all exploring different destinations, different vantages, and all our paths go like this anyway. And just because you found an enlightenment experience doesn't mean you still don't have more work to do. There are no perfect teachers, there are no perfect beings. Even the most enlightened among us still make mistakes, still act petty, still act selfish. Hell, I'm even sure the Dalai Lama has days where he's like, I could have done better. That was kind of shit. And bless you, your holiness. No offense, please, by saying that. But we're all works in progress. All of us. Stop living for this day where you're gonna finally be perfect and all your problems are gonna be solved and there's never gonna be any more suffering. You're gonna be working for the rest of your life internally on this planet if you're on a spiritual journey. So we need to approach this with a mindset of fun and playfulness and gratitude and adventure. One of my favorite quotes is, perspective is the difference between an ordeal and an adventure. Something could be treacherous and hard, or amazing and challenging and fun. And all that changes is our vantage. So go ahead, seek enlightenment today. Open up to the possibility you may get it. And at the same time too, relish your humanness, relish the experience that you're getting to have, relish your body and your friends and food and your partners and your work, and be fully here. Because even after you get enlightened, you're still going to be here. you're still gonna be living this life. So find the joy, find the celebration, and live today. I'm Kay. This is Ecstatic Self. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Namaste.